Hi guys, Artie here. And it's that time of year again. Here we have another carriage dispute. This time between the online IPTV cable service YouTube TV and Paramount. This pretty much happens every other year or so, where a cable service such as Comcast, Verizon, Spectrum, Cox, DirecTV, or Dish has a dispute with a media company, which is usually Paramount, of course, speak of the devil, where they cannot come to an agreement for how much they should be paying to carry their networks. Thankfully, YouTube TV and Paramount were able to work out a temporary, short-term extension, but God knows how long it's gonna last before a proper renewal is needed. I really hope they stand up to Paramount and don't actually give in to their unreasonable demands. For context, Paramount owns CBS, Nickelodeon, MTV, VH1, BET, Comedy Central, Paramount Network, TV Land, CMT, the premium channel Showtime, and I believe they own a portion of the free-to-air channel Start TV. Just listing a handful of channels on top of my head. They also own dozens of local channels across the country, such as WBZ Channel 4 and WSBK Channel 38 where I live. If you don't know much about the cable TV industry or aren't from the US or have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll give a rundown. How it works is that cable providers have to pay the media companies that actually own the TV networks such as Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, AMC, and Nexstar a certain amount every so often to actually carry them. Every so often, the media companies get greedy and want to raise their carriage fee to an absurd amount. So obviously, cable providers don't want to immediately give into that. So then, a PR nightmare ensues and the media companies will run these one-sided ad campaigns claiming, X cable service is threatening to pull all our networks, when in fact, it's quite the opposite. If the cable provider still doesn't agree to the unfair higher rate, the media company threatens to remove their channels from that particular service. Once the prior carriage agreement lapses, they legally cannot broadcast these channels and must take down the feeds, as it would be copyright infringement to keep them up. At that point, the cable company either has the option to take the blow and drop a dozen or so channels from their lineup, or accept being blackmailed by the media company and agree to the carriage fee increase. Almost 100% of the time it's the latter, where the cable company has no choice but to cave into the higher fees, which are then passed on to the consumers. That's right, they pass it on to their subscribers by skyrocketing their customers' monthly cable bill. Whenever media companies such as Paramount run these malicious ad campaigns claiming that a cable provider is threatening to remove their channels, they are just manipulating you. Cable bills wouldn't be as outrageous if the average consumer had half of a brain cell. Encouraging the subscribers of a particular cable service to call them up and verbally abuse an associate over the phone who obviously doesn't make corporate level decisions in order to make them bring back those channels does not seem to be a very effective strategy. If the cable companies stood their ground and allowed the ratings of the dropped channels to plummet, they would eventually come crawling back with a more reasonable rate this time around. I'm pretty sure the customers can survive a week or so without those channels, unless they have no life. However, at the same time, I find it quite scummy that cable providers pass down the higher carriage fee to the customer in the form of a higher bill. I'm pretty sure the cable companies can afford to take the blow. These cable companies, or in this case YouTube, which is part of a tech company, are giants and make billions of dollars per year from nickel and diming people for a below-par service. There is also other smaller charges tacked onto a traditional cable bill, such as retransmission fees from local stations in the market, regional sports fees, and rental fees to actually use the equipment. Cable TV used to be hell of a lot cheaper over 20 years ago, but the price kept going up and up and up and up. They know people are willing to pay $100 plus per month for garbage and are too sheepish to know when it's too much, so companies know they can keep overcharging people. I find it not only greedy, but completely absurd that YouTube TV intends on raising their rates in turn for less content. In what world does that make sense? If they actually do drop Paramount's rerun zombie networks, wouldn't it make more sense to satisfy their customers by dropping the price by $5 or $10? They're both in the wrong, but YouTube is the lesser of two evils here. And Paramount's mostly the blame. So essentially, it's a contest to see which baby can cry the loudest. It may seem like I'm defending YouTube, but only because I have to point out Paramount's BS. I wanted to see what other people thought of this situation on Twitter, and here's what the public is saying. I agree with these comments. The customers shouldn't need to be the middleman for these billion-dollar companies fighting like children, especially when you're already paying an arm and a leg for junk content. Also, people pointing out the trend that this is like the millionth time Paramount has pulled this BS, so it's clear that Paramount was at fault all along. They seem to be a repeat offender in the most common media company that starts up these annoying and inconvenient cable carriage disputes. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They've had disputes with DirecTV numerous times throughout the years, dating back to the mid-2000s. They've also started shit with Dish, Spectrum, and Time Warner Cable a couple of times, I believe. I'm probably not the only one who remembers that throughout the 2000s and 2010s, DirecTV was always having some sort of dispute with Paramount, back when they were known as Viacom, and people would make a jab at them by calling them Viacunt because they didn't understand the concept of fair use. They would always run those commercials saying to call up DirecTV and demand them to keep the Viacom channels. You know what? You don't really have much to lose other than SpongeBob and The Office reruns if YouTube TV actually does decide to drop all of Paramount's networks. You want to know why? Paramount doesn't know how a TV schedule works and will spam the same 2 or 3 shows on each network all day, every day. They don't realize that the average person wants variety and not be shown the same shit constantly. We don't like repetition. As you already know, repetition is the definition of insanity. Not worth it if 90% of your offerings are rerun zombie networks. Even then, if you want CBS or Start TV, you can just hook up a TV antenna and get them for free. To reiterate, Paramount is manipulating you. They themselves are the reason why their own channels are going to be removed. They raised their carriage fee to an absurd amount and YouTube TV of course didn't agree to it. So now they're playing the victim card in hopes that YouTube TV caves into their higher fees. It feels like we escaped the hassle of cable TV, just to go full circle and return to what is pretty much cable 2.0. I had a feeling that this was going to happen with streaming and paid IPTV services. Just do what I do and get your content through YouTube, free streaming services, antenna TV, and my personal favorite, piracy. But at the same time, I have to say I don't advocate for piracy and that this is just a joke so I don't get into trouble. Trust me, you can live without cable and streaming services and life will be so much better without having to fork over $100 every single month. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, notify, and check out other videos on the channel. You may like them. Who do you think is at fault in this situation? YouTube TV or Paramount? Or is it actually both of them? Let me know in the comments.